Well, going outside Nigeria to Egypt now, where the people will head to the polls between March the 26th and the 28th to vote for a new president. President Al-Sisi has been accused of stifling the democratic space and preventing potentially strong candidates from challenging him at the polls. Let's bring in now political analyst Dr. Rebwar Fatah to discuss these developments. Mr. Fatah, it's good to have you on the news at this hour. So tell us your thoughts on all of this drama that is ensuing presently ahead of the elections in Egypt, especially as the opposition, a major opposition there, is calling for a boycott of the elections.
Most of the strong candidates withdraw race, and for some of them in some of jail and some sidelines and some service. Them would like a statement. Obviously, it's clear that those statements made under pressure from the authorities. So the major candidates are now, and in the last minute, Mr. Adnan, I beg your pardon, Musa, he made a supporter of Sisi. He made a statement just the last minute on the 29th of January that he's going to stand. But he also disqualified himself by saying that he's a supporter of Sisi and he is not there to race against the president. So it seems to me, it seems to everybody that the ground has been cleansed for a weak candidate to take part in order for Sisi to win major votes. But of course, that is standing on whether there will be a high turnout in the elections. I mean, that is really, we just have to wait until the end of the month to see whether there will be major turnout. I mean, at least there should be 40%.
Fatah, if you'd allow me quickly, but now let's talk about Mohammed Sadat, a presidential contender who abruptly dropped out of the race, saying he has zero chances of winning at the polls. So what does this potentially hold for the democratic states in Egypt?
I think it's under question. Of course, this is not what I am saying. This is what the major human rights organization and most of the media in the last few days have been saying. It is it's really run by fear. I mean, it's if you like. I think one of them, the nephew of the former president Anwar Sadat, Mohammed, stated that he dropped out because of the fear surrounding the election. I think that's a very strong statement. He was not even allowed to hire a hotel for his campaign. So the intimidation and the pressure on the strong, challenging candidates are really very, very high. I think this is more like a referendum than an election. I mean, if I compare this to the previous authorities, Hosni Mubarak, at least under Hosni Mubarak, strong candidates were allowed to take part in the race, but of course the election was somehow fixed in order for Mubarak to win. But under Sisi, even the candidates are not allowed to take part. So, and of course, Sisi doesn't want to see this as a referendum. That's why in the last minute he had one candidate to take part in order to show that this is a fair democratic election. But I don't think anyone see it as a democratic election anyway.
Right, and another former candidate was arrested and thrown into prison. He was accused of terrorism for challenging and criticizing the pre-election crackdown. What does this say about Sisi's style of campaigning and his grip on power in the country?
I mean, it's fascinating to see somebody is not a terrorist until he's declaring that he stands against Sisi. Once he declares standing against Sisi, he became a terrorist. I mean, obviously, that was Badawi, who was the head, who was an Islamic before. I mean, obviously, it's becoming a soft issue for Sisi. Anyone who is not really friendly to Sisi's authority can be labeled as a terrorist, and the charge for terrorism is very, very high. I mean, from capital punishment to life imprisonment, depending on the charge. So it's yet another one. And in fact, there was 2 more candidates they were thrown into prison. One of them sentenced to 6 years, and the other one sentenced to 3 months. Khalid Ali sentenced to 3 months after he declared his candidacy against Sisi, and Ahmed Konsawan, he was sentenced to 6 years, not 3, 6 years imprisonment. So and other candidates, for example, the former General Chief of Staff, I mean, he just dropped out of the race, and the former Prime Minister, he also dropped out of the race. So you can tell. Look at the pattern. The names are all available in the media. The pattern is very clear that any strong candidate that constitute a threat to Sisi's authority has been somehow dropped out or put in jail or intimidated, or after a while just make a statement, say, I'm not a good candidate to run this country. It's very clear, really, to me, and I guess to everybody else.
Well, definitely, Dr. Rebwar Fatah, the government's elimination of potential competitors has drawn rebukes locally and internationally. We'll be monitoring the developments there ahead of the elections to see how they all play out. Thank you again for your thoughts here on CVC News.